No.
I'm pretty dang sure because they live like.
Okay. All right, let's talk about tips and gratuity. This is where we need to do at least one problem where you actually calculate something. So I hinted at this the other day. So let's imagine, here's my example I'd like you to know. Let's imagine you're working a 45-hour work week. You're working a 45-hour work week. You're getting paid $3.55 per hour. Now you're thinking, oh man, Ward, I'm not going to work 45 hours for that. You're a waiter. Okay, you're getting tips on top of that. So you're getting $3.55 per hour, but then the tips you're rolling in, let's say you're making every 8-hour shift you work, every 8 hours, you're making about $200 worth of tips.
Not bad.
Not a bad day. That's pretty normal if you're in a restaurant. Like if you're in a sports bar kind of thing. You're going to make tips like that. It does happen, especially on weekends and stuff. So, you're making pretty good tips. I want to know what your final paycheck is going to be. There's a lot to this problem. There is way more than you think there is for how it's calculated. Number one, you have to figure out how many 8-hour periods you have in 45. Okay? About 5. You can't go 6. 5 times 8 is 40. So you'll have, since there's 5 of these, there's 5 times 8-hour shifts to get you up to 40. The idea is that you're going to have to figure out $200 worth of tips times 5. Again, how you figure that out? How I figure out the 5? Here's the trick. Take 45 and divide by how many 8-hour shifts you're working. That tells you it's about 5. If you want to add 6, fine, add 6. But it's about 5. It's 5 point something.
5.6.
So, and you have to take that number times 200 because that's every 8 hours you're getting about $200 worth of tips. So you're making about $1,000 in tips. Now the best part about tips, not taxable. It's cash in your pocket. On your W-2s and things you have to fill out for your job and the federal government for taxes, you do have to report something if you're a waitress. They know you are making tips. You do have to report. There's a bare minimum you have to report, and you have to have a receipt to show it. So it's kind of nice if you have an employer that will that's really knowledgeable in that they give you that receipt that you're making like a bare minimum of like $200 in tips a year. You can mark that, and whatever you make on top of that's yours. You don't need to get taxed for it. Okay, there's a bare minimum. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, sure, you're making $1,000 that week in tips, for that 45-hour work week. But that's not your only pay. You got paid per hour. Plus, you got overtime. Overtime on top of that. So you're going to be working 45 hours. So you're working 40 hours at normal wages. 40 hours times the 355.
Oh, quit.
That's kind of nice. So if I take it, if I actually do that, that's see a 2 carry 2, something like that. Let's see, 2 spots. Is that 142?
Yeah.
Okay, I had the decimal in the right spot in there. All right, 142. All right, that's your 40-hour work, and you're like, Ward, that isn't a lot. It's $140. I worked 40. You made $1,000 worth of tips. You're getting paid more than most people in a week. Now, we're not done yet. That was just your normal work hours. We worked 5 hours overtime. You worked 45 hours. So that means you're getting time and a half. So now you're going to have to figure out what the 355 is times 1.5 because you worked overtime. Time and a half for overtime. So you're going to have to take that 355 times 1.5 to actually figure out what you're actually getting. So you're going to have to multiply these 3 numbers together to figure out your total overtime. Does somebody have that calculated?
26.
Matt does.
Say it again.
26. What?
62?
What?
All right. Is that right? Is that what everyone's getting?
No. Oh, we have to pass by the 5.
Okay. Okay.
26.
Yeah, so that's the money you're making in the overtime. The 1.5 times 3.55 times the 5 hours
We
you
rounded
worked.
up to 63.
Yeah, 63 going around. And now your final work week, what you're making total, and this is the part that always gets people, you have to add up all 3 of these and then you're paid for that week. All right, so 26, 63, or 62. the $142 and the $1,000. Notice when you add up all your decimals, you have to line up the decimal point. If you're going to do it by hand. So you're making about $1,100, $1,200 that week. It's not a bad work week. You can make $4 grand a year or $4 grand a month. That's not bad. Half it's not taxed. That's pretty good. I'll tell you right now, that's more than a teacher makes. But again, you're not going to get $200 every 8 hours. You have to work pretty darn hard for that. And you got to make sure that you're making a bare minimum. All right. Now, here's the thing. That's a tough problem. Lots of stuff to calculate. We got to go through all the stuff we've done previously. Are we comfortable with gratuity and tips and how that works? Be careful on what they're telling you. Are they just telling you that, hey, you're making $200 the whole week, or are you making it every so many hours? So be careful of that. You have to double check what they're doing. All right, that's the first part of your homework. I think you have 5 of those. Yeah, 5 of those. Okay, second part of your assignment today. Does anyone still need that problem? Okay, second part of your assignment. It's going to be piecework. The piecework functions. If you work at a job like 3M or someplace like, I guess, Larson Manufacturing, Clear Lake, if they pay you per item that you manufacture, you quality check, maybe they're going to pay you 15 cents per item. You're going to get 15 cents per item. But that day, you went through 1,200 items. You're just quality checking, you're going through, making sure everything is correct, it doesn't look cracked. You can get through quite a few throughout the day. You have to multiply these together to figure out what you get. $180? Okay, there's your pay that day. $180, you multiply. That's not a bad work, that's not a bad day. I'll tell you, if you're working as a teacher, you're getting paid about $80 less than that per day. Per day. Yeah. You make more in tips in normal restaurants than that. Okay, all right. Now, here's the thing. The things you also have to worry about. Now, obviously, I'm showing you all these fancy numbers. You still have to worry about taxes in certain cases. You still have to worry about all the stuff coming out. And you got to worry about how many days you work in, overtime. You know, that's kind of grueling hours. These are things you got to think about when you're applying for your job. Okay, do we feel comfortable with the 2 types of problems you have for your homework today? Okay, those are the 2 types. That's what you have. You're going to have 10 problems. 5 of those, 5 of the tip problems. The tip problems are not as complicated as the one I made you. It's just nice to see something like that. All right, the last one. I want you to write this down in your notes. This is something that you just need to see, and we need to discuss it. I'm going to turn on my projector and get this one fired up.
That's the best part of the day. We get to stand outside all day. All 2 periods. So, like probably an hour and 15 minutes.
All right, here we go. Here's the thing I'd like you to write down. I have a little chart on the board, and it's nice to know what these terms are in case you've never seen them before, because this is something that you need to worry about when you first get your first major professional job. Let me put this up on the board. It's not a very big chart. Maybe you already know these are common sense, but this does affect your pay. Okay, what you're looking at here is your time period you can get paid through jobs, and most jobs will allow you to set this yourself. There's some jobs you can't. Okay, so if you get paid weekly, you get paid once a week. At the end of the week, Monday or Friday, something like that. Bi-weekly. Bi means every 2. So if they say bi-monthly, that's every 2 months. Bi-yearly, that's every 2 years. So you got to be worried about that. Every 2 weeks, that's kind of the sweet spot. I'm just going to tell you right now, in this type of market, you want to get paid every 2 weeks. Trust me. It will save you on taxes if you get paid every 2 weeks. You'll make more money in the long run cash. I know in tax you can fill up the end of the year, but you're not getting everything back sometimes. Semi-monthly is twice a month. That's the same thing as kind of bi-weekly, but there's some months that have more than 2 weeks. Like there's some months like June or July, you might have a five week month where it's like they call it the super pay month, where some months it just happens to be where there's 5 weeks in that month just because it starts on a Thursday, ends on a Tuesday, so you have 5 full weeks in there, and maybe you get paid weekly. That's 5 weeks you get paid for 1 month. That's kind of sweet. But semi means every 2. So if you went semi-annually, that's twice a year. Annual means year. So semi is always twice, but bi means every other, like every 2. So there's a difference. I want you to know that. Bi means every 2. Semi means you cut the item in half. So twice a month, that type of thing, just cutting it in half. Monthly, obviously once a month, 12 times a year. Bi-monthly, every 2 months. Quarterly is 4 times a year, that's quarters, 4 quarters in a year, 4 quarters in a dollar, that type of thing. It's every 3 months. Semi-annually means you cut a year in half, 6 months. Because semi, you cut things in half. That's how it works. So you could have semi-weekly, get paid Wednesday and Friday, twice a week. That's semi-weekly. Semi-cut things in half, and annually is once a year. The more times you get paid, the less taxes come out, and that's more cash in your pocket. I know that seems stupid. You're like, it's going all the same place. No, it doesn't. Here's the difference. Okay, and this is something you need to be worried about. The bigger the paycheck you get, whatever your paycheck is, the bigger that number is. Say your paycheck this month was $3,000. Okay? The bigger that paycheck is, the more taxes come out because they take a % of that number, right? But because what they think is that whatever, they don't care about how many times you get paid, they take the taxes out of the big lump sum. If you take smaller checks, maybe semi-monthly, where you get paid twice a month or every 2 weeks or something like that, you get a smaller paycheck. Well, taxes are based on how much you make. So if you're in that upper tax bracket, what they check for is, are you making over this amount of dollars per paycheck? And that you get bumped into a different tax bracket. So the idea is that, so if you're like getting paid $3,000 a month, maybe that's the sweet number. You get paid $3,000 or higher, like $3,000 up to $6,000. You're in this bracket where they take out 34% taxes, maybe 34% for taxes. But if you're in that bracket below $3,000, like 1,000 to 3,000, in that bracket below, maybe they're only going to take out 27% taxes. That's less taxes. You get more cash in your pocket. It's better to be paid more times in a month than it is just one big lump sum. And you're thinking, okay, Ward, that's silly. No one's going to have to deal with that. I deal with that every single year. Because believe it or not, I get paid 9 months out of the year. 9 months is when I get paid. 9. You're like, there's 12 in a year. Because I get summers off, right? They don't pay me in the summer. I get 0 paychecks for 3 months. In fact, my first paycheck is in about a week, and I haven't get paid since June. So you have to budget. I have to budget. Because here's the worst thing that comes, right? They say I have an annual contract. I get paid, so many times in a year. But when June comes around, when June rolls around, what they do is they give me one paycheck, and that covers me from June to July to August. It's all in one check. And then they don't pay me at all until September. And I get paid on the 20th of the month. So I have to budget. You get that one check in June, you're like, oh man, I'm buying a boat today. Because you just saw that check that rolled in. You're like, oh my God, I've never seen that much money in a bank account before. But I'm not getting paid for 3 months. So I have to pay all my bills every single month and food. And I have to budget so I don't run out by the time August comes around. Because I still have another month to go, and it does happen.
Wait, so how much was your check?
In that time, in June, I think I got like a $9,000 check in 1 month. And here's the worst part. One check, $9,000, it was in my bank account. I've never seen that amount of money. And that was the first time I started working here at Garner. They did it that way. Ventura just paid me every month, right? But I got one check. I'm like, whoa, I just got paid huge. And I'm thinking, am I getting paid again? Like, if they can keep doing that, that's sweet. But here's the worst part. They took out a huge amount of taxes. massive amount of taxes came out. I just lost a lot of money. Because I wasn't in the $3,000 bracket, I was now in the $6,000 to $9,000 bracket, and they just took out 56% taxes. That was almost a paycheck. Like if I get paid a month, that was about one of my paychecks was gone in taxes. So now I'm not budgeting for 3 months, I'm budgeting for 2 months, because I just got all that taxes taken out in one big lump sum. So now I'm down a huge amount of money than what I thought I was gonna have, because the taxes came out. I don't get taxes back until April of next year. That's something you need to think about. So, if you talk to your employer, which I had to, I don't want them to pay me one stupid paycheck. My taxes came out and I can't budget. Because I was expecting 3 checks, June, July, August. I can take that little amount of money, make my bills, because I'm responsible and I can pay my bills with that. They give me 1, they cut me off because my taxes, and now instead of having 3 months paychecks, I had 2 to pay 3 months worth of bills because the taxes killed me. So what I had to make sure of is in June, because the office personnel isn't out there, that's why they pay you all in June, because they're not gonna be here until August, and the first paycheck rolls in September. I had them pay me 3 separate checks in June. You're like, what? They paid me 3 times in June. It was basically every 2 weeks, because there was a 5-week super month. The reason why they did that is they provided me 3 separate checks at a smaller tax bracket. They're charging me this tax, not 56, they're charging me 34, and that saved me money, and now I don't have to, now I'm not losing a whole month's worth of pay because of taxes. It saved me. Now it caused more work for the employer, but it saved me in taxes, and now I can actually pay my bill by the time August comes around when I'm trying to budget for the 3 months. You not believe how much of a pain that is. You can have paychecks, and I always recommend this. Go every 2 weeks, bi-weekly. Bi-weekly is the coolest paychecks you'll ever get. You get them on the 1st or 20th of the month. It's awesome. You can set, so if you have different payments, you take out loans for a house, you take out a loan for a car, you can have that paycheck that's consistent, it's coming every twice a month. You can have 1 check set for the mortgage, 1 check set for the car, and it's coming every month, and you're gonna have it like clockwork. And you never have to worry about it. You know that paycheck's coming. That's sweet. Or if you have more than that, maybe you have a cell phone bill and you want to plan that second paycheck goes to the cell phone bill. Like that's how I think of it. I think of like separate checks go to the separate things. This is something you need to worry about, how many paychecks. Because the bigger the amount of money, the higher tax bracket you're in. And I know that's a pain, but it's a reality of life. The more you get paid, the less check it is. You know, the less money is going to be per check. But that means you're in a smaller tax bracket. And I know that people are going to argue that you're going to file tax at the end of the year in April, you get your money back. No, sometimes you don't. You don't get the money back sometimes. Depends on what you can deduct off of your taxes. Teachers can't deduct much. So we don't get a lot of our taxes back in cash. The only thing a teacher can deduct out of their taxes is student loans. And it's not even, you don't get all of your student loan money back, you get only the taxes that they charged you, like the interest that was charged on your student loan. So you get that back at the end of the year. So it's kind of nice. You know, I'm paying, every month I'm paying, I think it was like $1,000 for student loans. Every month I was paying that. Well, I paid a lot of interest. I'm getting charged like $156 per month for interest because of that loan. At tax time, I get that money back. So the year I get my $156, whatever it is, I get that back for the 12 months that I paid it. That's kind of nice. Get a nice little paycheck in my pocket, and I can use that for whatever I need it. But taxes are brutal. State taxes are worse because states are all different, and states can fluctuate. Depends on who your governor is and what they need it for. There's a lot of road construction things you need to think about on taxes with your paychecks. Time April comes around, if you're not a farmer. Time April comes around. Let's say they're doing road construction in your neighborhood, right? They're fixing the road. Guess who pays for the road? You do. The people that live on the street. That's how it works in towns. So if my road gets paved with cement, I just bought a street. In Ventura, we were looking at a house buying in Ventura. They were ripping up the street. It was going to be 20 grand in taxes that year. And they were letting you know that you can take out a loan through the bank to pay it. And everyone on the street had to pay 20 grand to pay for the road. That's how it works. And and that amount of money depreciates as you get further and further away from that road. Everyone in the town will pay for the road, but the people that are closest that use it every day pay the most amount of money. You have to think about that when you're having road construction, that you are going to pay for the road at some point. Like they had that weird pothole that they did that, the water main broke. The people that live on that intersection are gonna pay a lot of money for that road here in a little bit for taxes.
In the school,
The school will pay a bunch too. Schools are also affected. If you have more than one school in your town, you pay for a lot of money for taxes because you have to pay for the school. So those are little things you have to think about. And that's on top of what you're budgeting for the year. You have to plan that. You have to know if you're having road construction, what is that bill gonna be for me at the end of the year? Because it will be added on your taxes. And if you don't pay your taxes, you can't get your driver's license and you can't register your car and eventually they'll start taking things away until you can pay it. So that's why they give you options of taking out loans and extensions on taxes so you can pay it over a monthly period. Because that's kind of no one has 20 grand to pay for a road. It's not reasonable. So they give you options to make payment plans to pay for it. Because you're not gonna replace a road every year. You're gonna do it once every 20. So you have to be kind of planning that.
so it's like the school is paying so much, so like Mason would have to pay a lot more than,
Yeah. So Mason City Schools, there's a lot more schools, you're paying a lot more taxes in that town, in the city stuff, yeah. So it's one of those things you gotta think about.
How's like a gravel road work then?
Gravel?